I'm Adrian Bond. I am the president of Caissa K12, and we're the nation's leading student recruitment provider for traditional public school systems around the country. We help districts stabilize student enrollment population numbers. We do this by recruiting students, helping you retain the students you have, and where you have issues around chronic absenteeism or truancy as chronic problems for the district, we help you run heavy interactive parental engagement plans to get those students to start showing up. And with me, I have Kassie Kimble. She's one of our business development associates. If you want to say,
yeah, absolutely. I am so happy to be here today. Like you said, I'm Caissa Kimble. I'm part of our business development and marketing teams here at Caissa K12. It's a great place to work. I'm glad that we are able to help public schools because we always say we believe public schools have the right to compete, and we are here to help with just that. So we're going to get started about, our no-show campaigns and just tell you about the mechanics of our no-show campaigns. And then we actually have some questions that were sent in to us by some of you guys. So we'll get to answering those at the end there. So Adrian, if you just want to talk a little bit about some of our past clients and who we've worked with.
Okay, yes. We've worked with a number of school districts, around the country running no-show campaigns. Some of the ones I think stand out, the best are Carrollton Farmers Branch ISD, which is in the Dallas, Texas area. We've worked with Fort Bend ISD, which is in the Houston area. We've worked with Douglas County Public Schools, which is in Atlanta, around these issues. And one thing that we've seen as a trend to happen is that since COVID, a lot of parents have been slower to bring their kids back. We know in some areas up north and up east, it was known for many, many years that schools didn't start until after Labor Day. And so although now they're starting sooner, some of the parents still are on that old path. And so they're late to bring their kids in. But what we see, which is more of a problem, is that using a lot of, your competition is using a lot of ESSER dollars to go and target your families. So our charter schools are doing a number on our traditional public school systems. In Texas, we've seen the homeschool and the virtual schools take off. I mean, they've tripled their enrollment since 2015.
Mm-hmm.
They've doubled it since 2020, and so they're more more competitive. And these states that have these vouchers, I think what you're going to see is, the majority of the people that are really using them were already prior families that were already attending those private schools. But I think what you're going to start seeing is a proliferation of these private schools that's geared to whatever your state's funding is for the vouchers. So if it's $8,500, you're going to see these schools pop up where the tuition just so happens to be $8,500, which means that a family could attend that private school for virtually nothing. And so these are all going to be impacting our student enrollment numbers. It's going to be impacting when families are showing up, because oftentimes a lot of our districts that we see and we work with, they automatically re-enroll the parent kids. And when they don't show up and they've chosen to have gone elsewhere, oftentimes the school district is the last one to know. So, right. Those are all factors to consider. And, we've seen a lot have happened since COVID.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. So just to kind of elaborate on one of the districts that you were speaking about was Carrollton Farmers Branch ISD down in Texas. We have ran a no-show campaign with them in 2022, and they were still kind of recovering from COVID and everything like that. And they had a large number of students going to virtual schools, homeschools, and those other alternative options where a lot of kids were going during the COVID era. So because of that, we worked with them on a no-show campaign that 2022 school year. And with that large potential universe of students that weren't going to the school that they were maybe zoned for, we had larger potential to bring students back to their district, more so than we have with other districts sometimes. So this is a good success story to just mention. And typically, like when we do these no-show campaigns, we can bring back anywhere between 5% and 12% of the no-show students that the district was experiencing. But in this case, we brought back approximately 17%. So just if you have a problem with your virtual and homeschools in your area, then that's something that we can come in and help you guys with and just provide a bigger capacity to reach those parents and those students. So just kind of moving on here, we can get into more of the specifics about the no-show campaigns and just talk about how we actually run these campaigns.
Okay, yes. So when we talk about no-show campaigns, it is a form of student recruitment. We have the beginning of the year student recruitment campaign that we run essentially from January 1 of the year all the way through the first 2 weeks after the start of school. Then we have our no-show campaign that we run for districts where the students registered but didn't enroll in the first few days after the start of school. And then lastly is our, we run the truancy, pre-truancy campaigns and chronic absenteeism campaigns where we seek to, engage with families and get the students to show up more frequently. And so when we talk about no-shows, what stands apart is, one, we're on a condensed cycle, whereas when we start recruiting at the start of the school year, we have 8-9 months to recruit. In this cycle, we typically start recruiting. We have some districts that we can start on day one, but most oftentimes, a lot of the districts will have some internal opportunities that they can take advantage of by having staff call these families that didn't show up. And so what we typically do is get it on the list on the 3rd or 5th day after the start of school. The districts provide that no-show list to us. And what we're going to do is run a grassroots effort campaign, which is going to consist of phone calls, text, emails, in-person visits, you name it, in order to be able to engage with these families. And one, we want to recruit them back. But in the event that we can't recruit them back, I think the second biggest takeaway is we're going to be able to update the data with the correct school information. The parents might have moved. They might have chosen another alternative. We're going to update all of that information and provide that feedback back to the district. So that's extremely important. These campaigns typically last about 30 days. And so it is a heavy dose of parental engagement by, again, those methods that I just mentioned. And the advantage about utilizing a firm like us to be able to take on this work or assist a district in this kind of work is we start calling at 8:30 in the morning, 9 in the morning, and we'll call to 8 o'clock at night, Monday through Friday. We have times that we call on Saturday between 9 to 5 or 6. On Sundays, we typically call from 1 to 5, 1 to 6. And we all do this just to make sure that we are being as attentive as we can to engaging with those parents according to their work schedules. We know that that is very important to be able to engage with these families. A lot of our success comes after the hours of 5 o'clock. And we know for a lot of districts, that's real hard to be able to put a staff together to call every day in the evening and on the weekend. So we help provide that capacity for the district in alleviating their no-show problems.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I believe that we could move on to questions. Is there anything else that you wanted to explain in regards to the no-show campaigns and the tactics that we use?
Yeah, no, I think it is what we're saying is just, it is something that the districts need to take very seriously. I don't think the competition is going away. And Kassie, you mentioned earlier, we help the districts to compete. You all have the right to compete, and your competition is competing. And what we want to ensure that we do is provide capacity to assist districts in engaging with those families. We know how hard it is to run this kind of campaign. Mm-hmm. And we know that your staff is already probably pulled in a number of different directions as it is. And so this is one thing that we can take off your plate. And the one good thing about it that I failed to mention is our risk-free guarantee. Mm-hmm. And that is the districts only pay for the students that we recruit. And what I mean by that is we negotiate on the front end what that per pupil fee amount is. and the district signs a performance contract that states that we will be compensated for each of the students that we enroll, and typically they have to stay there for 15 days or 20 days in order for us to earn total compensation. But now you have an ability now to only contract with a vendor that you're only getting the results behind. So we're not sitting on the other side of the table from you. And so you want to get these students back. So do we. And so now you can take the risk out of doing business with a company like us by having this risk-free proposition in our contract pricing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Such a good point. Well, great. So we can always move on. We have some questions that were sent in by you guys and just some other people that maybe weren't able to attend today. So I'll go ahead and I'll read off the questions. Adrian, you can answer them and we'll move on from there. So one of the questions was, when do no-show campaigns typically end in the school year?
Yes, they will typically end about 30 days after the start of the school year. We do have some that last a little bit longer. We may go to 45 days in those districts where you see high transient populations. And so, people are already showing up late anyway. And so that window, we stretch that window of time out a little bit longer. But typically it's a 30-day campaign after the start of the school year. And the sooner that we're able to get started, the more effective that it is. So the district waits to give us the no-show list 2 weeks after school, as opposed to the first week after school. The numbers can, we can lose some numbers there because parents are still making up their mind even after the start of the school year in a lot of instances. So we want to make sure that we take full advantage of the timing to engage with those parents as closely after the start of the school.
Mm-hmm. So time is of the essence, right? Yes, in this situation. Okay, great. So one of our next questions that we had from you guys, what if my school or district has continued problems with chronic absenteeism after the first month of school?
Well, what we see is chronic absenteeism. We see as a year-long problem for the most part anyway. A lot of the districts that we currently are working with on the chronic absenteeism and the truancy campaigns typically border anywhere north of 25 to 30, 35, 40% chronic absenteeism. And so we understand that is a problem that a lot of districts face. But one of the things I think that is so important about this service line is that it really does take an entire lift in order to engage with these families. And a lot of instances when we're dealing with the students themselves directly when they get to the high school level. It's about, holding families accountable. It's about being proactive, and we run proactive campaigns. We want to start as early as we can to identify the problems first, and then trying to find resources that that may be available with either the district or other organizations that are out there to assist families, with this problem. We've seen in a number of instances that, the parent doesn't send their child to school because the clothes are dirty, or, they might not have, they may be facing transportation problems. These are all things that we want to find out those issues too and help, provide those solutions. And, so it is a very intense proactive campaign that the only way to be able to get those numbers down is we want to let the parents know that, hey, we have somebody out there that is concerned. And not only are we concerned on, every 2 weeks, we're concerned every day, and we're going to engage with these families every day. And so typically these campaigns will last up to about the last 30 days of school year of school. And so it is an intense effort. And we know that a lot of districts have the ability to have truancy officers, but their attendance clerks are probably, wearing 2 or 3 different hats. And so they don't have the capacity to make all these phone calls on a daily basis. And so we have enrollment officers that we know that the school has, the district may have, but if you've got 18,000 students that are in a district that has a chronic absenteeism problem, having a team of 5 or 6 it's not going to be able to do it. And so we offer the ability to leverage our capacity to engage with those families.
Great. So moving on, one of our next questions is about a timeline of the no-show campaign. So what does a typical no-show campaign timeline look like?
Yeah, so I mentioned we typically run it for 30 to 45 days. If it was a perfect world, I said we'd have the data on the third day after the start of school, and we run it for another 27 days after that. That's typically the way it works. And again, in some cases where schools have higher transient population, we may decide to run it for 45 days just due to the number of families that are always in flux. We work with districts that have migrant populations, large migrant populations that with seasonal trends affect when the kids are showing up. And then just in some districts, we just, again, especially I see it a lot up north and up east where, the schools district starts on August 28th, but they're not used to attending until that Tuesday after Labor Day. So in those cases like that, we may extend that period out if we know that we have some issues that are traditionally facing parents to show up late.
Absolutely. So when exactly do our enrollment specialists explain kind of when we start that outreach?
Yeah, so the district will provide us that list on the third day or fifth day. And prior to that period, all of our own scripts, our text, our emails, any communication that we're going to have with the parent, we get approved by the district, so that after we receive that list, we are live on the phone. One of the first rounds that we will always take is a mass text to find out when times are best to engage with these families. And what that does will help us to determine how many of these numbers are valid. So if we've got a list of 10,000 students, 1,800 are kicked back. Well, we know that, we only have 8,200 to call instead of us taking the time to call those that are going to be bad numbers. And again, that's important because we are on a condensed schedule. We don't have months and months to engage with these families. So we had to be real laser focused on targeting the engagement plan. So we want to get started as close as we can after receiving that data. And that's so typically either on the third day or fifth day, we'll start our engagement campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. So this looks like this is our last pre-prepared question. So this is going to be, will my district have access to the data you gather from families regarding their opinions and reasons for choosing another school?
Absolutely. I think that is one of the most critical pieces to anything that we do. When we relate to district, it is always your data. We're just partnering with you to combat an issue that you have. But that is essentially key. We had a district that changed their walk transportation guidelines, and they extended that out. And they lost about 400 students in 1 year over that. And we were able to find that the reasons why these parents were leaving is because they didn't feel comfortable with their child walking an extra quarter mile or half a mile. And so we were able to identify that with these families. And so the next year they came back, the district came back and readjusted it back. And we probably picked up 350 of those families back just by being able to know what that issue is. And so as we tell you, we want to recruit the students back, but if we're not, we're going to update you with where the student has chosen to go, as well as the reasons why they left. And so oftentimes the district can be able to make trend lines and take steps to be able to address some of those issues that the parents gave us during our engagement during that period.
Absolutely. So I did realize that we had one more about our how does our guarantee on investment work. So I know you've touched on that a little bit, but if you want to kind of reiterate.
Yes. So what we do is on our performance contract, in which the districts only pay for the students that we recruit, is what we do is we get the district to agree on what the per pupil price is for the students that we bring back. So traditionally, they may be anywhere between $875, $850 to $1,400-$1,500, depending on the actual scope and the universe of potential students we have to engage with. There's a lot of infrastructure costs that are baked in to this price. And so what we do is we take the risk on to combat this particular problem, and that is those no-shows. So the district agrees to the per pupil price, and then the district will pay for those students that we not only locate, but have enrolled and show up to school. And some districts have the 15-day requirement, 20-day requirement that the students must fulfill in order for us to be compensated. But what it does is it relieves, it takes the stress off the district in knowing that, hey, I know I need this service, but I may not have funds on the front end to pay for this service. Well, in here, we take that burden from you. We start recruiting on our own dime, and then the district agrees to pay us after we have recruited and those students have stayed in for that particular time, and then we invoice. And so it is a great opportunity for districts to be able to know that, hey, every dollar invested with us is in the form of a positive ROI, because you're only paying for the students that we recruit.
Absolutely. And there are sometimes some districts that like to impose a cap, right? So that kind of helps in that case as well to not,
Yes. That's good. That's a good point, Kassie. Some districts may get scared not knowing how many of these students we may ultimately be able to bring back. So oftentimes districts will cap us at 200 for a smaller district. We've had districts that were larger that might cap us at 1,000 students. So that at least that they know where the maximum amount of students that they'll be responsible for paying.
Right.
But even in that cap, if you cap us at 1,000 students and we only recruit 250 students, well, you're only paying for 250. But at least from the district standpoint, you know that you have a limit on what this contract value would be.
Well, fantastic. So that concludes the questions that we had sent in by some of you guys. So I guess, does anyone else that has joined have any further questions? Is there anything that we did not touch on that you would like to hear more about? Well, awesome. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put our contact information in the chat here just for anybody who would like to ever reach out and get some more information. This is going to be both mine and Adrian's email addresses, as well as our office phone number. But these were all very good questions. Thank you to all who sent them in. I hope Adrian was able to answer them to, your liking and everything. And thank you all for joining us.
Thank you. We appreciate you taking your time to join us today.
Thanks.